Breaking news from around your world on this Friday, December 14th, 2018. I'm Larry Rice. The man authorities believe killed 3 people during a rampage near a Christmas market in Strasbourg was killed in a shootout with police Thursday, ending a 2-day manhunt. French authorities identified the man killed in the eastern French city as 29-year-old Cherif Chekatt, a Strasbourg-born man with a long history of convictions for various crimes, including robberies. Chekatt also had been on a watch list of potential extremists. Police had spotted a man matching the suspect's description in the city's Neudorf neighborhood, and the moment they tried to arrest him, officials said Chekatt turned around and opened fire. Police returned fire, killing Chekatt, who was suspected of killing 3 people and wounding 13 others near Strasbourg's Christmas market Tuesday night. Officials said that 3 of the injured had been released from the hospital and 3 others were still fighting for their lives. 5 people have been arrested in connection with the investigation, including Chekatt's parents and 2 of his brothers. The Paris prosecutor's office said the 5th, who was arrested Thursday, was a member of Chekatt's entourage, but not a family member. Senators voted Thursday to recommend that the U.S. end its assistance to Saudi Arabia for the war in Yemen and put the blame for the death of journalist Jamal Khashoggi squarely on Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in a direct challenge to both the longtime Mideast ally and President Donald Trump's handling of the relationship. The succession of bipartisan votes came 2 months after the Saudi journalist's slaying at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. U.S. intelligence officials concluded that bin Salman must have at least known of the plot, but President Trump has repeatedly praised the kingdom. Senators made clear where they put the blame. The resolution, passed by unanimous agreement, says the Senate believes the Crown Prince is responsible for the murder and calls for the Saudi Arabian government to ensure appropriate accountability. Senators also voted 56-41 to recommend that the U.S. stop supporting the war in Yemen, a direct affront to the administration's war powers abilities. The floor action brought an unusual show of bipartisan resolve in the Senate over U.S. foreign policy, even amid an uncertain outcome as the measure moves over to the House. President Trump met with former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie Thursday and considered him a top contender for the job of White House Chief of Staff, a position some advisors urged him to give to senior aide and son-in-law Jared Kushner. A source familiar with Trump's thinking said the president had a positive meeting with Christie, confirming a report by Axios.com, and considered him a top-tier candidate for the position. Christie, a brash, tough-talking politician, was a contender for the Republican presidential nomination in 2016, but abandoned the attempt after a poor showing in the New Hampshire primary and subsequently endorsed Trump, becoming his advisor throughout the 2016 campaign. Other sources said Trump was hearing appeals from some advisors to consider Kushner, a top White House aide who is married to Trump's daughter Ivanka, for the chief of staff job. But one source, speaking on condition of anonymity, said Kushner was currently not inclined to pursue the position. On Thursday, Trump said he was considering as many as 5 candidates to fill the vacancy that will be left when his current chief of staff, retired General John Kelly, leaves the job early in the new year. British Prime Minister Theresa May confirmed Thursday she will leave her post before the 2022 election, saying new party leadership is needed after the Brexit controversy. Speaking to reporters in Brussels before another key European Union meeting, May said it's too early to say exactly when she'll step aside. May's comments came a day after she survived a no-confidence vote by lawmakers who oppose her Brexit deal. She received 83% support in British Parliament. Critics say her plan would keep Britain linked indefinitely to the EU through trade, while preventing it from striking their own deals. A spokesperson for May said the Brexit vote won't be taken to Parliament before Christmas. The government is committed to voting before January 21st, and Britain is scheduled to leave the EU by the end of March. May said she wants to assuage concerns of lawmakers in her Conservative Party by securing assurances from EU leaders the backstop plan with Northern Ireland will be temporary, so there could be a hard border between those two countries again. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan are investigating possible misspending by President Trump's 2017 inaugural committee. That's according to the Wall Street Journal Thursday, citing people familiar with the matter. The committee raised a record $107 million, double the previous record set ahead of Barack Obama's 2009 inauguration. It remains unclear what the committee did with some of the money. Sources told the Journal the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's criminal investigation is also looking at whether some donors were expecting their money to buy them special access to the Trump administration or even policy favors. Prosecutors are also examining whether foreigners seeking influence illegally funneled money to the inaugural committee and a pro-Trump super PAC. The House on Thursday passed a law changing how Congress handles sexual harassment allegations, joining the Senate in support for the legislation. Both chambers passed the update of the Congressional Accountability Act of 1995 unanimously, sending it to President Trump's desk for a signature. The compromise legislation came about after a number of members of Congress were accused of sexual misconduct, including former Senator Al Franken of Minnesota, a Democrat. Others came under fire for using taxpayer dollars to settle allegations, like former Representatives Patrick Meehan, a Republican from Pennsylvania, and Blake Farenthold, a Republican from Texas. All three men resigned amid the criticism. The bill eliminates 30-day periods for counseling, mediation, and cooling off, which are all required for victims of sexual harassment under the Congressional Accountability Act. Members of Congress would also be personally liable to pay harassment and retaliation settlements. Senators Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota and Roy Blunt of Missouri and Representatives Jackie Speer of California and Bradley Byrne of Alabama co-sponsored the legislation. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration said Thursday it was able to trace an E.Coli outbreak to a California farm. The FDA's investigation identified a positive sample result for the outbreak strain in the sediment of a local irrigation reservoir used by Adam Brothers Farms in Santa Barbara County. The agency said the farm has been cooperating with the outbreak investigation and hasn't shipped any romaine lettuce since November 20th. So far, 59 people in 15 states have been sickened by the E. coli strand, with the last reported illness onset date being November 16th. As a result of the finding, the FDA revised its recommendations for consumers, stating there is no longer a reason for consumers to avoid romaine lettuce from San Luis Obispo, Santa Cruz, and Ventura counties in California, provided it was harvested after November 23rd. Additionally, the agency said romaine harvested outside those areas and greenhouse-grown romaine don't appear to be related to the current outbreak, and there is no reason for consumers to avoid lettuce from those sources. Nancy Wilson, the Grammy-winning song stylist and torch singer whose polished pop jazz vocals made her a platinum artist and top concert performer, has passed away. Wilson, who retired from touring in 2011, died after a long illness at her home in California late Thursday night. She was 81. Influenced by Dinah Washington, Nat King Cole, and other stars, Wilson covered everything from jazz standards to Little Green Apples, and in the 1960s alone released 8 albums that reached the top 20 on Billboard's pop charts. She resisted being identified with a single category, especially jazz, and referred to herself as a song stylist. The National Endowment for the Arts awarded her a Jazz Masters Fellowship in 2004 for lifetime achievement. Wilson also had a busy career on television, film, and radio, with credits including Hawaii Five-0, Police Story, the Robert Townsend spoof Meteor Man, and years hosting NPR's Jazz Profile series. Active in the civil rights movement, including the Selma March of 1965, she received an NAACP Image Award in 1998. Wilson was married twice, to drummer Kenny Dennis, whom she divorced in 1970, and to Wiley Burton, who died in 2008. She had 3 children. Actress and director Sandra Locke, who was nominated for an Academy Award for her first film role in 1968's The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, and went on to co-star in 6 films with Clint Eastwood, has died. Locke died in early November at her Los Angeles home of cardiac arrest stemming from breast and bone cancer. She was 74. Authorities were promptly notified at the time, but her death was not publicized until Radar Online first reported it Thursday. It's not clear why it took nearly 6 weeks to come to light. Locke was best known for the 6 films she made with Eastwood, whom she dated for 13 years, starting with the Western The Outlaw Josie Wales in 1976 and ending with the Dirty Harry movie Sudden Impact in 1983. The pair's hit films also included the 1978 street fighting and orangutan comedy Every Which Way But Loose and its 1980 sequel Any Which Way You Can. In 1989, Locke's charmed life came to an end as Eastwood broke up with her. They later settled a highly publicized palimony lawsuit for an undisclosed amount in 1996. The following year, she released her memoir titled The Good, the Bad, and the Very Ugly, A Hollywood Journey, which also detailed the double mastectomy and chemotherapy that came with her first bout with breast cancer. Janet Jackson joins her brother Michael and the Jackson 5 as members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, earning induction on Thursday along with Stevie Nicks and the top fan vote-getter, Def Leppard. Radiohead, The Cure, Roxy Music, and the Zombies will also be ushered in next spring at the 34th induction ceremony. It will be held March 29th at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Jackson's induction comes after her 3rd time as nominee. It will be Nick's 2nd induction into the Rock Hall since she's already there as a member of Fleetwood Mac. She launched a solo career in 1981 with her duet with the late Tom Petty, Stop Draggin' My Heart Around. Other hits followed, including Edge of 17, Stand Back, and I Will Run to You. Def Leppard earned more than 500,000 votes from fans, which are incorporated into more than 1,000 ballots from artists, historians, industry professionals, and past winners in deciding who gets honored. Def Leppard, Nicks, and Roxy Music were voted in during their first years as nominees. Other 2019 nominees who didn't make the cut this time include LL Cool J, Devo, Rage Against the Machine, MC5, John Prine, Todd Rundgren, and Kraftwerk. And that's your update for this Friday, December 14th, 2018. I'm Larry Rice. So sorry for the quality of my voice, still battling that laryngitis. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I do appreciate you supporting this podcast. Thanks for listening.